What's up, guys? Before I deliver this year's Royal Rumble review for January 26, 2020, a review I call the good, the bad, and the ugly, I first want to take a moment and speak on the man, Kobe Bryant. Whether it's thoughts, prayers, support, strength, whatever you're sending over to his family today, I thank you on behalf of the entire Amplified unit. Whether it's via social media and showing your support, or if his family asks of something out of us, I hope that we all show up and show up in a big way, because we all need to come together in these type of situations. Kobe Bryant, as I left on Twitter, and this is why I wear my Knicks colors proud this morning, because I know Kobe Bryant would be loving that, looking down from above. Because Kobe Bryant loved coming to New York's Madison Square Garden and absolutely destroying my New York Knicks. So I know that would bring a big smile to his face. It's a huge deal for so many reasons, obviously. But I know how big this is, especially to today's up-and-coming generation. For me, that would have been Michael Jordan. If Michael Jordan was 41 years old and this had happened, just out of his prime? Jordan's prime was his entire 30s. Let's be honest. Not just 20s. But if this was to happen to Michael Jordan, I could just imagine how devastated my generation would be. So I just imagine today what those that are between the ages of 15 years old and 30 years old this morning, what they're really thinking. Because that was their Michael Jordan. And to have something like this and news like that break out is absolutely, it's devastating, but it's so mind-boggling. It's so hard to comprehend. But I once had a teacher back in high school, and he once told me, I'll never forget these words. It was really deep because I was, maybe a freshman? What is that? 14 years old-ish? And I'll never forget this teacher. He told me, there are no victims in life. He said, you're going to have a lot of good, you're going to have a lot of bad, you're going to have triumph, you're going to have tragedy. And there are no victims when you walk out of your house or even in your house. Things happen, and be ready for them. And I'll never forget those words because it's so true, man. On any given day, you have so much joy and you have so much sorrow, so much greatness and so much horrendousness. It's such a mixed bag, and this is this crazy thing we call life, man. But to wake up to news like that, we were all getting ready for the Royal Rumble, and you hear about not just what happened to Kobe, but then his daughter. We get word that his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, was also involved in this, and 7 other individuals from what we're hearing. So it's not just Kobe and Gianna, but when you think about how full of life his daughter was and how much more life she still had. Anyway, guys, thank you for allowing me a couple of minutes to just speak on that, because this is kind of weighing heavy on me, and I use this platform to talk pro wrestling mostly, but it's sports in general that you guys know that I love. And being a New York Knicks fan, diehard for so many years, and seeing Kobe Bryant come into New York City and absolutely wreck us in every way, and him with that smile just like Jordan used to do to us, and the same smile that Michael Jordan used to have when he was taking out Patrick Ewing in my Knicks. At least today we can all smile at that and say, damn it, we never were able to get you. But this is something that is going to weigh on us for a long time. And as I left over on Twitter yesterday, he was an icon to many. He was a legend to most, but he was a champion to all of us. His name and his daughter Gianna's name will not go in vain, I assure you, and they will always be remembered. Forever, as the Ultimate Warrior always used to say. Now, let's move on, guys, to the Royal Rumble, because we do have a lot of business to go over. Before I get to the actual good, the bad, and the ugly review, and again, for you newer subscribers, the rules are simple. Every single match will get a tally, not on the pre-show. The only reason we'll go to the pre-show matches is if there's a tie on the main show. So if we ended off at like 3 good, 3 bad on the main show, then we'll go over to the pre-show and we'll talk about Shorty G. And what was actually a pretty decent United States Championship match. But we're not going to talk about them unless we need to go to a tiebreaker. We're only going to count the main show matches. Every match will go into one of 3 columns. The good, the bad, or the ugly. Now at the end of this thing, when we tally it up, you want to stay away from the uglies the entire review. Because at the end, when we tally this thing up, we're going to cross out the uglies. That's going to turn into 2 bads. So that'll drastically change the outcome of this review, and that'll tell us if this was a good pay-per-view or a bad pay-per-view. So we're going to find out together, because we're going to dissect every single match. And again, every match goes into either the good, the bad, or the ugly. Stay away from uglies. They get crossed out and turned into 2 bads at the end of this. So for instance, if you had 2 uglies, when we do the final tally, that becomes 4 bads. This could easily turn into a bad pay-per-view in the blink of an eye. Stay away from uglies. So before we get into that review, though, I have a lot of side notes, guys, coming out of last night's Rumble. First of all, an injury report. A lot of people wondering where Sasha Banks, why she wasn't in the Rumble. They're extremely upset. You guys know this is a pro Sasha Banks channel. I love Sasha Banks. It is evident now. Common sense will tell you she is indeed injured. We have seen her out of action for weeks now. When she apparently got the ankle injury from Lacey Evans a couple weeks ago, if you noticed, we never saw the bump take place. We never saw her actually get into any physicality. Right there, I knew something was not right. And then we find out that last second they had to put in Kelly Kelly. This was not by design. If you think there wasn't going to be backlash for Sasha Banks being taken out of the Rumble, no. Vince is weird these days. He's not that insane. Sasha Banks is absolutely injured. We hope nothing but the best for her. It doesn't appear to be extremely serious, or she wouldn't even be suited up like she was for a few weeks in the past month. But it's serious enough to keep her out of action for a full month. Not cool. And now what we have to wait and see is is she going to be back Friday? Or is this something that maybe is more serious than we first thought? But either way, Sasha Banks, it's common sense now. It is evident something is not right. She is injured. We just don't know what it is. It looks like they're keeping it hush because Sasha Banks has had a lot of injuries in the past. And maybe they don't want the fan base to think that she's that injury prone. Every couple of months, it's something new with Sasha, you know. But when you go full throttle, when you put your heart and soul and passion all on the line every single match like Sasha, that could happen. You know, I'd rather somebody doing that than just phoning it in every night like a lot of the females on that roster. Not going to name names. You guys probably know who I'm talking about. But Sasha Banks, it is evident something is wrong and there is an injury. We have to dig deeper and find out now. AJ Styles looks like he has an arm injury. After he took the spear from Edge last night, he was seen with his arm reportedly dangling and he didn't look right. Now, I just told you guys on my Q&A this past week about my old football injury when I snapped my elbow in half. Somebody just tackled me. I went down the wrong way. My arm completely snapped in half. Sounds like this is the same thing. He went down via the spear. His arm, he landed on it the wrong way. I just hope it's not a dislocated elbow because that was my injury. But Styles looks to be injured as well. We have to find out more. Beth Phoenix took a nasty bump on the back of her dome piece after Bianca Belair sent the shot. And it looked like she may have hit the post, but Beth Phoenix did have a huge laceration back of her dome piece. Remains to be seen if she in fact did receive staples or not. I'm still receiving word. It is very early on a Monday morning, guys, so I still have to find out a lot about this, but Beth Phoenix was injured last night. Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt were both treated backstage for lacerations. They were cut up in several areas. They should be good to go for Friday. Side notes, aside from injury report, Tom Phillips, as you saw at the Royal Rumble, was commentating. He is supposedly now going to replace Vic Joseph going forward. We have to see if that is immediate, as in last night and tonight, or are they going to give Vic Joseph one more night tonight as a goodbye? We don't know, but it looks like Tom Phillips is replacing Vic Joseph full time. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. I don't know. Vic Joseph, we thought at first he was going to be something really good, and then it sounded like he was having a hard time adjusting to this. Whereas Tom Phillips, there's nothing spectacular about him, but there's a consistency with Tom Phillips. You know what I mean? So I think until they get somebody better, I think Tom Phillips might be the right way to go. There was apparently an altercation before the Rumble went live, guys, between Riddle and Lesnar. We have to find out more about this, but before the event actually went live, Riddle went up to Lesnar, supposedly, and I could just imagine how this goes, because Riddle has had a lot of words about Lesnar, just like he has about Goldberg, and he doesn't hold back anything. If I was a betting man, if I was a guesser, I would say that Riddle went up to Lesnar, went into business for his own, and wanted to see if he wanted to have a match in the future. And you know Lesnar. Lesnar doesn't like to talk to anyone backstage unless Vince McMahon has set up the meeting. So Lesnar was probably like, get out of here, kid. And Riddle's like, bro. And Riddle probably kept pushing his buttons. So that's probably the altercation. We got to find out more. WWE Super Showdown is the next big event. WWE officially announced, we knew this for some time, but this is the official announcement. They pushed it back a week. It was supposedly going to be 2 weeks. It ended up being 1 week. They pushed it back, but it's WWE Super Showdown. It is going to go live Thursday, February 27th, Saudi Arabia. This is going to be the same venue as Crown Jewel in 2019. So the next event is not the Elimination Chamber, which is usually that February pay-per-view. It is Super Showdown, Saudi Arabia, February 27th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And again, that's on a Thursday. So put that on your calendars now, guys. Elimination Chamber has been backed up 2 weeks after to Sunday, March 8th. So that'll be the Elimination Chamber. That's going to be a hectic 2-week schedule for WWE. Saudi Arabia on the 27th of February, and then 2 weeks later, Elimination Chamber. We're going to get a lot of rematches probably for both. So we'll have to see. That's all the news, guys. Should we get to the review? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's do it. Let's start right from the jump. Match number 1. This was Roman Reigns taking on Baron Corbin, Falls Count Anywhere. I told you guys in my preview video just yesterday. I put it out kind of later on Sunday morning, but hopefully you guys saw it. And I told you guys for this match to deliver, because nobody truly needs or wants to see Roman and Corbin again. We've seen them so many times. And let's be honest, when you resort to dog food, it's pretty safe to say the story has come to its conclusion, right? I'm not saying it's cringy to the level of Lashley and Rusev, but we've had enough. So I said for this match to deliver, they have to have a lot of spots planned. It is Falls Count Anywhere. You are in that stadium, have something cool planned. And also the finish needs to be dynamic. I feel we may have gotten that. Let's talk about it. The match itself, again, it's not something that I would have thought of to set the tone for the night. But again, I feel like it might have delivered. I'll find out when I discuss it with you guys, because this match was basically Corbin and Roman going through 52 tables. I think we're all fine with that, right? At one point, Corbin was being stuffed in a porta potty, and that thing was tipped over. You had the Usos come out to take on Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler in center field. That's right, just picture that. They're in center field, supposedly, if you were to take out all the fans and all of WWE production. Basically, if you were to take out the Royal Rumble, that was center field. And just to picture that, Usos and Roode and Ziggler battling out there. Usos at one point were flying like 747s there as well. They were doing some awesome spots, and it wasn't even their match. So you got to give them all the credit in the world as well. So, yeah, it delivered on that aspect. I said they needed to deliver a lot of cool spots, a lot of innovative kind of spots, in some of those table spots, and battling around center field, and even throwing in a porta potty. Why not at this point? You threw in dog food, you might as well go all out. But if you're going to have a match with these two, at least it wasn't the run of the mill. At least it didn't bore us, because this was the match to set the tone for the rest of the night. This was in that first match spot, which is always the one to get us energized. At least this went through the crowd. The crowd was all engaged. Us at home, we were for the most part engaged. In the finish, saw Roman spear Corbin on top of the dugout. Picture that. Now, because WWE made sure that they made you picture it, they actually did the aerial view of Corbin and Roman on the dugout. And it was something to see. You're going to see that visual another 100,000 times in your lifetime, I assure you. WWE is going to play that visual over and over and over again because they made sure they went to the aerial shot and you saw Roman spear Corbin. It was a badass spot. I thought to myself, right there it needs to end because that's pretty cool. 1, 2, 3, spear on top of the dugout. And you knew Roman was going to win anyway. And that's what we got. 1, 2, 3, spear on top of the dugout. I was fine with that finish. As long as Roman doesn't go on to win the Rumble, I'm totally fine with that. If that's as high as he reached last night, then everybody wins. Roman fans get their big victory, and the fans that are not fully behind Roman, we don't have to see him or suffer through another Royal Rumble victory and another Roman Reigns main event at WrestleMania. Everybody wins. Unless your name's Baron Corbin, but gives a shit. So, all in all, guys, it did exactly what I said it needed to do in yesterday's preview. It delivered all of the innovative spots around the stadium, and it ended in a pretty cool way. Was it the coolest thing I've ever seen for a finish? No. But cool nonetheless. And that aerial shot, that lasting visual, come on, man. That's what we want. At the core of it all, that's what we want. At these big events, you know what I mean? Those type of situations. So that's going into the good. And wherever I have this posted up, that's going into the good section. Hey, we're off to a pretty decent start, man. We'll give that a good. No way that can go into the bad. I mean, that's the best we've seen out of Roman and Baron. So, pretty easily flowing into this review, right? The first match, I'm not getting overly amplified. I'm not upset. It was a match. If you're going to weigh the scale one way or the other, it was more good than bad. I wish I could say the next match was going to be as easy, smooth sailing. This was the Women's Royal Rumble match. Stick with me here, guys. It might get a little dicey. There's a lot to go over. Start at the very top. Alexa Bliss drew number 1. Bianca Belair drew number 2. Keep that in mind because they lasted a huge part of this Rumble match. Mighty Molly Holly returned at number 3. Nikki Cross was number 4. Lana draws 5. Mercedes Martinez at number 6. Liv Morgan at 7. Mandy Rose at 8. Candice LeRae came in at number 9. And before we got to number 10, there was a great spot with Otis catching Mandy. Mandy went to get eliminated. She was on the apron. She rolled out. And from our view, the hard cam side, we saw her roll out. We thought she totally hit the floor. The other camera to the other side shows Otis. We don't know where Otis came. It must have been from underneath the ring. But Otis was laying down on his back, totally catches Mandy. This was an awesome spot, man. Was it realistic? Definitely not. Because Otis was just chilling underneath the ring the whole time. But the way that he caught Mandy, man, and Mandy steps up onto his stomach, jumps back onto the apron. Absolutely love that, man. That's the type of stuff that we love in the Royal Rumble. Stuff like Kofi does and stuff like Naomi does. Don't call them tricks, though. You can't call what they do tricks because a reporter asked Kofi in an interview recently, is he going to do any tricks at Royal Rumble? And Kofi flipped out. If you want to see that, go to my social media over on Twitter. You'll see it. I posted it. Kofi delivers one of his best promos ever as he wrecks this reporter. But Mandy Rose did something cool there with Otis, so I like that. Sonya Deville was in at number 10. Kairi Sane at number 11. Mia Yim at 12. Dana Brooke, 13. Tamina, 14. Dakota Kai, I love my Dakota. She came in at 15. Chelsea Green from the Robert Stone brand, number 16. Now, after those 16 entrants were said and done, just over half the participants accounted for at that point, we basically reset. Everybody was eliminated after 16, and we were down to the first 2, Bianca Belair and Alexa Bliss. So it was a total reset. For a moment anyway. Not too long after, Bianca Belair eliminated Alexa Bliss. Charlotte then came in at number 17, and that's when we realized why everything got resetted. You gotta reset everything for the Queen. So Charlotte comes in at 17. Naomi returns to WWE and at number 18. Beth Phoenix was number 19. Toni Storm at number 20. At this point, via elimination from Charlotte, Bianca Belair was finally eliminated after nearly 36 minutes. And again, man, if you were not a Belair fan before Rumble, you are a Belair I can speak. You are a Belair fan today because that was her calling card. She showed you exactly who she is, and I'm so glad that they gave her that time. I can't help but think that was supposed to be Sasha Banks' time, though. Just picture that, guys. The history she has with Alexa and her coming in at number 2 and lasting that long. I think that was supposed to be Sasha, and again, I think the injury kept her out, so they replaced her with Bianca. Bianca didn't hesitate going in there and doing the job like only Bianca can do. That was awesome. 36 minutes. And of course, the Queen, Vince's blonde bombshell, eliminates Bianca Belair. We then go into Kelly at number 21, Sarah Logan at 22, Natty at 23, Xia Li at 24, Zelina Vega 25, Shotzi Blackheart 26, and Naomi at this point, right after 26, right after Shotzi came down, Naomi did some insanity. She was on the steps. She jumps onto the barricade, and I mean, she just barely caught on. Her heels, as Corey Graves said, was literally a few inches from touching the ground. She wills her way up back onto the barricade. She jumps onto the announce table, takes the top of the announce table, puts it down, and she totally uses that as a ramp as she jumps back onto the steps. It was awesome. It's some straight up Naomi shit. Loved it. Then we went into Carmella at number 27, Tegan Nox at 28, Santina. That's right, Santina Marella came down at number 29, and then Shayna Baszler at 30, just like we expected Baszler to be in the Rumble. Santina went to deliver the Cobra to Beth, changed his mind when she saw that Beth was not having it, went to do it to Natty, Natty wasn't having it, so Santina just gave the Cobra to himself, and he eliminated himself, / herself, whatever, itself. And Santina Marella was eliminated. Now, after all 30 were accounted for, it was down to Shayna Baszler and Charlotte. And I'm like, hey, pretty cool. Shayna's going to win this by eliminating... I mean, this is sitting in their lap, right? I mean, we're all anticipating Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. That's the badass match for Mania. You set that up with an awesome Shayna Baszler Rumble victory. It's sitting in their lap, literally. Right? Becky calls herself the man. Shayna Baszler has been the man for the past year, all of 2019. She has held that championship and beat everybody in NXT until Rhea Ripley finally got it from her at the end of 2019. But you call yourself the man. Shayna Baszler has been the quote-unquote woman. It's time at WrestleMania. So it was sitting in their lap. There's no way. I mean, there's no way they're actually going to make Charlotte win this, right? That would be foolish. They actually had Charlotte Flair, I can't make this up, eliminate Shayna Baszler. Charlotte Flair wins the Rumble to a course of boos. And this is huge because they've been trying to pump up Charlotte once again as a face on Raw. And nobody, even the diehards that didn't want to see Charlotte, even the fans that WWE thought they could get easily, the sheep, they didn't even want it. They were like... I left over on social media, I said all of this was just to have Charlotte Flair win the Rumble. All of this when they could have easily found 100 ways to insert Charlotte Flair into WrestleMania because they've done it before. Last year's WrestleMania, do you guys remember? It was supposed to be Becky and Ronda. Vince McMahon came out and literally just introduced Charlotte Flair into the match. No explanation. So maybe this year they wanted to make sure that there was no question, right? Oh, we're not just going to announce it then. You had a problem with that. So now we're going to put her in there as she earns it. The old man in Stamford, Connecticut doesn't realize we don't want to see Charlotte Flair in another main event for the women for WrestleMania. It's not clicking. BC, you said it yourself. She's one of the best actual wrestlers. Yes, she is, but so is Sasha Banks. How many WrestleMania huge matches has Sasha had? Exactly. The one she did, it was there with Charlotte. Ember Moon's a great wrestler. How many WrestleMania moments has she had? Big time matches. Asuka. How many big time WrestleMania matches? These are all great wrestlers. Why are they not having these big matches? Why is it always Charlotte Flair? I'm not saying she's not talented. We've had enough with her being pushed in that Roman Reigns type spot for the females, man. Damn, there's so much awesome talent that we want to actually see. We actually want to see Baszler in there. We actually want to see Io Shirai and Bianca Belair. We want to see Sasha Banks and Ember Moon and Asuka in these huge Mania matches. But it's always Charlotte Flair. I was so heated, not just because of how it happened and went down, but the fact that Vince McMahon would do that knowing that it's the last thing we want to see. And then Charlotte, who was trying to play a face the last couple of weeks because they obviously knew she was going to win this Rumble, then she gets on the mic afterwards and she says, I don't care who isn't along for the ride. I don't care if you don't believe I'm the best and this and that. So she's a heel again. This is what I'm telling you. If you think I'm just being overly negative, I'm telling you the facts. Look at how many times they have changed Charlotte Flair from face to heel, and that'll tell you that it's not clicking. They don't even know what to do with her. They don't even know how to portray Charlotte. Do we make her a face to connect with the audience? Do we make her a heel? And they keep flipping her. That tells you they don't even know. They don't know. And we're supposed to? We're supposed to be on board? When they're not even buying into their own junk? You're not fooling me, man. If you're fooled by it, that's awesome. My standard is much higher. Charlotte Flair winning the 2020 Royal Rumble. Charlotte Flair going into one of the main events for the women at WrestleMania. Please, pathetic, and nobody wants to see it other than the 17 Charlotte fans. She's a queen, BC. That's what I get a lot. She's a queen. She's the best ever, BC. Deal with it. Well, I'm gonna have to deal with it. You're right. I have no fucking choice. She's obviously in one of the main events at WrestleMania for the women. Awesome. You could have made Shayna Baszler, to those fans that don't know a lot about Shayna, those fans that don't follow NXT, you could have made her last night. Huge victory. And then she comes over on Raw and she calls out Becky. Even if you don't know a lot about Shayna, this is interesting to you. Who is this? Wow, this is going to be Shayna's Becky Lynch's biggest match to date. Hardest match to try to conquer. Who's Charlotte going to go? Charlotte can't go to Becky. We've seen that 1,000 times. She can't go to Bayley. We've seen that 727 times. Is it going to be Charlotte and what? Is Ronda going to somehow... That's not even a champ. Ronda doesn't even have a championship. So how are you going to get to Ronda and Charlotte? Or is it going to be another triple threat because they're afraid that Charlotte will just be booed out of the building the entire 12-minute match at WrestleMania? Yup, correct. That's why you have to keep putting her in triple threats and fatal fours. So what I mean... They're putting themselves in their own corner into a pickle when they don't need to, just because they want to remain consistently stubborn. This goes into the ugly column. That's right. This wasn't ugly, not just bad. And the match wasn't actually bad. The actual match, the Royal Rumble women's match last night, I was thoroughly enjoying. There was so much infusion of NXT women talent. There was Beth Phoenix, Super Molly Holly. I was loving it, man. Mia Yim, Dakota Kai, Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair having an awesome showing. This was good. And then they ruined it. Vince McMahon can just not let good be good. He can't just leave good alone. He's got to ruin everything. And he goes and he takes a good match and he totally turns it upside down, and to the point where I can't even put this in the bad. It goes into the ugly column. And remember, that's going to count as too bad in the final tally. Good job, Vince. You sabotage your own product time and time again. I don't even want to speak another fucking moment about it, even though I probably will going forward, but let me get a sip of coffee. We'll continue. All right, third match on the main show was for the SmackDown Women's Championship. This was Bayley champion taking on challenger Lacey Evans. That's right. If you weren't over Charlotte Flair just winning the Rumble, Vince is now going to give you a Lacey Evans match. Awesome, Vince. How can this not go into the good column? Yeah, you might want to hold off on that, Vince. Bayley versus Evans. We were all drained from that garbage from the Rumble at the ending of that Rumble anyway. We were still drained. You look at the crowd in attendance, they were out of it for this match. Up front, you can't even blame Bayley and Lacey Evans. They were just emotionally, physically, mentally, everything was just drained from what happened at the end of that Rumble match. So nobody was into this. Us at home, probably the same vibes. I know it was for me. And it didn't matter anyway. This match was over in roughly 9 minutes. Bayley wins this match, but you would not have known it because Cole and Graves just praised Evans afterwards, repeatedly reminding us that Evans was a moonsault away from defeating Bayley. And she's got that Marine spunk. Forget that Bayley just won the match. What did I just tell you in a video last week about statistics, guys? Remember I was telling you how Charlotte Flair is complaining that she loses all the time? But I told you guys that those type of stats, wins and losses, can be deceiving sometimes. It's like my Green Bay Packers. They were 13-3 this season, but they were not a 13-3 team. They were not very good, actually, this year. Not 13-3, but that's what our record shows, and that's what Charlotte's TV/pay-per-view record shows. She was only at 46%. That is below 50. However, if you look at how she's booked, it's always in the top spots and in the limelight, the spotlight. Just like this. You complain you're one of the worst booked, yet you're winning Royal Rumbles. Okay, Charlotte, spare me the victim song and dance. And this is the same thing. Bayley has one of the highest winning percentages. She's at 70% for TV and pay-per-views. But is she booked that way? No. Even with the championship, she's an afterthought. Survivor Series, she's the one tapping out to Shayna Baszler. You have her involved in a Lacey Evans storyline and matchup for one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, Royal Rumble, and then you have her win the match, and she's not even talked about afterwards. It's all about how grit and grimy Lacey almost pulled it out. She showed that grit. She pulled out anything necessary. She was a moonsault away. What about Bayley beat her? It's done. You go to the back of the line now. Way back to the beginning. She's gonna be a champion soon here in W. Why? It's Lacey Evans. She doesn't have immaculate talent. I would honestly love to know why she bypassed everybody on the NXT roster to even get to the main roster. That's number one. Number two, I want to know why she's getting championship matches and why everyone's anointing her a future champion. I would love to know that shit. Honestly. Oh, I know. It's one of Vince's blonde bombshells. That's right. Anyway, Bayley went. I can't put this into the good column. I'm glad Bayley won. That's what should have happened. But the matchup wasn't intriguing me anyway. And then on top of that, you're giving him 9 minutes right after. There was no emotion into this. Nothing special happened to make me put this into the good column. So that, my friends, that goes into the bad. So now we have one in the bad. Good job, Vince. You do that little thing with Charlotte, you got yourself an ugly, and now you want to throw and parade Lacey Evans out there. Now you're going to get yourself a bad. That goes into the bad column unapologetically. Actually, I will say sorry to Bayley. You don't deserve it, but the situation, such is life. So I believe after 3 matches now, we have one in the good, one in the bad, and one in the ugly. Going to match number 4. This was the championship strap match. Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan. Bray Wyatt the champion. This match was so physical, so vicious, so damn good. It was a beating between these two. Every whip that leather strap was cringeworthy. You felt their pain at home. Every strap creating a new welt on these two's backs. It was just physical. It was intense. You had to cringe every time because, again, you felt it at home. Some awesome spots here. One came when D-Bry went to hit his running knee and Wyatt caught him right into Sister Abigail. Picture that shit. Beautifully put on. And then another was when D-Bry had the label lock with the strap wrapped around the mask of Wyatt. Just picture that visual. Pretty damn cool. The finish saw The Fiend defeat D-Bry with that claw wrapped in the leather strap. He actually pinned D-Bry pretty much out of nowhere, too. It was almost like Wyatt had stopped playing around or wanted to stop toying around with Daniel Bryan now. He was ready to finally pin him. I like this because Daniel Bryan showed so much fight. Bryan showed an awesome performance, but it's Daniel Bryan. I mean, how often does he not put on a damn good performance? But when it was all said and done, The Fiend was booked exactly how he was supposed to be. Like a badass, dominant. And that's how he was looking last night when he just said, enough. put the claw on him with the leather strap. He pins Daniel Bryan. That was a damn good match. That was a championship strap match. And again, it brings me back to the Sting Vader days back in WCW. They were just so much fun. This one was so physical, man. These two just said before they went out there, they must have had a little conversation. They said, let's just go full throttle. Because they went full throttle. So awesome to see. We then went into, oh, by the way, do you need me to tell you that goes into the good column? So we got 2 goods after 4 matches. we hit some rough spot there in the middle. We had that ugly, we had that bad. But that championship match got us right back on track. That was an absolute good. And that's only because I don't have a great column. And I don't, for those of you that are asking why I don't have a great, it's because Vince McMahon doesn't give us enough great things for me or for them to deserve a great column. Until they show me enough consistent great things, then I'll add it. Until then, you ain't gonna get a great. But that was definitely good. Now we go into the Raw Women's Championship match. This was Becky Lynch champion taking on Asuka challenger. I told you guys from the jump, I liked the story. I would have personally added more creativity into the story arc, but I digress. Beggars can't be choosers. At least the story was sitting in their lap and they didn't totally ruin it. Right? This is the old story of, that's the one person I can't overcome. That's the one person that has my number. I love it. And that's how Becky looked at Asuka. So the story was fine. Could the match deliver? That was the question. We got the answer last night. Absolutely. This was actually a good match. This was hard fought between both ladies. Becky's best match easily that I have seen her on the main roster, aside from Sasha Banks' Hell in a Cell. Aside from that match, this was Becky's best match that I have ever seen her on the main roster. Something about Becky last night, there was a confidence in her. There was another level that she tapped into. And I think when you take on Asuka, you have to tap into that level because you know it's going to be physical. But Becky Lynch showed me some spunk in there. And if I could get that performance out of Becky Lynch more often, I'd probably be behind Becky Lynch more often. There's a concept. Becky Lynch, I was actually happy with last night, and Asuka, and I don't mind the ending. We knew Becky was going to win because for weeks now, Asuka has had the upper hand. So this is natural storytelling in pro wrestling. I'm fine with that. I just hope that Asuka doesn't fall off the radar now, because even with a championship in this company, Vince has shown us that he will make you completely irrelevant. So I hope they have something for Asuka going forward with those tag straps, and then something even more than just a tag strap in the future. But for Becky Lynch, I didn't mind this at all. And Becky tapped out Asuka, and this was right before Asuka was going to deliver the mist. I thought this was beautiful because the referee got caught up in the corner, so Asuka was going to deliver the mist. But Becky caught it in time, super kicks her, and the mist flies up into the air, and then she's put into the disarmer. So I love the ending sequence. I thought that was really creative. Like that a lot. And again, this is what I mean about the Royal Rumble for the women. Becky wins in that fashion, you set up her and Shayna now. It's sitting in your lap. Where does Charlotte even come into play? That's not even a piece of the puzzle in the puzzle. That's like one of those botched puzzle games where you get an extra piece by accident, or there's a messed up piece. Charlotte Flair does not fit in any of these equations. We were talking about Sasha and Bayley for WrestleMania. We're talking about Shayna and Becky, or maybe Ronda and Becky finally doing their business one-on-one. No, Charlotte always has to be in this. Why? It's rhetorical. She doesn't have to be. But Vince will make sure till his last day here on this earth, he will make sure that Charlotte Flair is front and center and above everyone else. He ruins his company in the process, because you could be doing awesome stuff. Even Charlotte Flair fans, I hope you understand what I'm saying. You could build such awesome stories if you just put Charlotte in something else for a minute. But no, we knew all of this time away from the title, all of this time, which by the way was just a few months, but her away from any title picture, again, just a few months, all of that was just to get her right back into the title picture. In those just a few months that she was away from it, that's when Corey Graves was on his podcast going, this is not how Charlotte should be booked. This is when Charlotte was going on social media saying, I can't believe I'm being booked this way. Or in a roundabout way. Everybody was complaining that Charlotte isn't in a title picture. Why? Because for 12 months out of the year, she needs to be in a title picture? She needs to have 16 title reigns in just 3 years? So after Becky won this match, even though I was fine with it, it got me reheated over the whole Women's Royal Rumble match ending. Because this should have been the calling card for Baszler and Becky. This should have set up WrestleMania. Just mind-boggling to me. But again, I like this Raw Women's Championship match. Becky and Asuka went real physical in there, full throttle. I liked it. That goes into the good section. I believe after 5 matches, we have 3 goods. That should be an overwhelmingly good pay-per-view so far, because there's only 5 matches. You got 3 good. That means there's only 2 bad, right? No. Because even though there's 1 bad, don't forget there's an ugly in the ugly column, and that's going to be crossed out into 2 bads. So right now, we're tied. We are tied going into the 6th match. And this was the Men's Royal Rumble. So this is going to decide it all. We're not going to need to go to the pre-show. This is going to decide it, guys. I'm going to get another sip of coffee, and we're going to see together if this was a good or bad pay-per-view, judging by the Men's Royal Rumble match. Alright, guys, so this is it for all the marbles. This was the Men's Royal Rumble match. Match number 6 on the main show. As it stands right now, we have 3 in the good column, 1 in the bad, and 1 in the ugly. So technically, we are tied. When we cross that ugly out, it's going to be 3 good, 3 bad. This is going to decide it. And this pretty much is right on point with how this is why I love doing this type of review. I do it with you guys so we can really dissect it and give it the most honest grade possible. Because as I'm watching this event last night, that's how I told you guys on Twitter yesterday, last night after the event ended, I told you that it was literally, I think I put the words, I liked it, I hated it, I loved it, I despised it. It was just, you felt it all, man, and it's reflective in this review, you know what I mean? It goes to show you that I was feeling that way last night, I'm feeling that way early this morning. The Men's Royal Rumble match is going to decide it all. Brock Lesnar was out at number 1. Elias draws number 2. Elias was singing a song on his way to the ring about Brock Lesnar, and Brock was having none of it. Brock skyrocketed out of the ring so fast he almost fell exiting the ring. He literally almost face planted. First onto the mat on the floor, and then he almost face planted into the barricade. It was hilarious. And he was so pissed off that he almost fell twice that when he got Elias, I felt so bad for Elias. You actually heard Elias go, uh-oh. He grabbed Elias and he beat him like my pops used to me. My pops used to give me the leather belt, man. That's how I felt for Elias. I felt for him because Brock got him and he just started beating on him. And can I just say how fast he caught Elias? Brock is a big dude, but he is so fast. It reminded me back to when I was a kid with my pops and the first time I ever swore around my father and I ran around the house. My father caught me in 0.2 seconds. He chased me down after I swore for the first time and I got that leather strap on my fucking ass. It was bad, man. That's how Brock and Elias was. It was incredible how fast Brock caught Elias, and Elias was in trouble at that point. Not too long after he was brought into the ring, and even faster, he was thrown out of the ring. Eric Rowan then claims the 3rd spot. He is eliminated immediately. Robert Roode draws number 4. Robert Roode gets F5, and he gets sent back to catering just as fast as he came. John Morrison draws number 5, and I swear to you, Brock threw Morrison so far out of the ring, air traffic control has yet to locate him. True story. They're still trying to find John Morrison. Unreal how far Brock chucked him over that top. Kofi Kingston comes out at number 6, Rey Mysterio at number 7, and Big E at number 8. Bing, bang, boom. Kofi, Rey, and Big E are all eliminated accordingly. Cesaro comes in at number 9, Shelton Benjamin at 10, Shinsuke at 11, MVP returned to WWE and at number 12, all 4 gentlemen eliminated accordingly. Keith Lee then comes in at 13, and this was the first real time that Brock had a test. Big boy Keith comes down, and you don't realize how big Keith is until he's standing next to Lesnar, and even Lesnar's like, whoa, you're a big dude. So Keith Lee came in, and he was able to keep Lesnar at bay finally, because up to that point, Lesnar was having free will with everyone. You could tell Lesnar was tired. He was beat red. He was sweating profusely. He was gassed. He was winded, but he was holding his own. But he was kept at bay once Keith Lee came in. Strowman then came in at number 14. After just a couple minutes, Brock eliminated both Lee and Braun at the same time. Ricochet then comes in at 15, and McIntyre at 16. And McIntyre, he drew the golden Willy Wonka ticket. McIntyre takes Brock's dome piece off with a claymore and takes him right out of the Rumble. Drew McIntyre eliminated Brock halfway through this thing. And I told you guys on social media over on Twitter, I said, that's it. Drew has to win this Rumble now. You cannot have him defeat Brock like that, throw him over the top, and not have Drew win this. I said over on Twitter exactly this. Forget the Reigns BS. This needs to be Drew McIntyre. And I said that right when he eliminated Brock. And that was thankfully a sign of things to come. But McIntyre, we thought it could be Cena who would do it. We thought maybe Edge. We didn't quite know, were they going to set up somebody like Keith Lee? Would they do that? Would Vince really put his stock into an NXT talent like that, right? We didn't know who was going to draw that golden ticket. It ended up being McIntyre, and that was so awesome to see. It makes you think like that couldn't have been Vince's decision. AJ Styles comes in at 18. At that point, guys, I didn't even get number 17. So if you guys get number 17's entry, put it down below for me because I missed out on number 17. I was so shocked that McIntyre just eliminated Lesnar. 17 happened in the blink of an eye. So I didn't get to see who came in at 17, but I don't think it mattered because he was pretty gone pretty quick. AJ Styles in at 18, Dolph Ziggler 19, Anderson at 20. Edge returned to WWE at number, what was he? He was number 21. Edge, man. You heard the music. You see him in his fucking, he's got the coat on. It's Edge. He had the pyro. I mean, we went back 9 years earlier, man, as if nothing has changed. Even though the company has drastically went downwards, somebody like Edge helps make it go back upwards. Edge returned and we were feeling some type of way. My social media at that point just simply said, it's fucking Edge. It's awesome, man. Really cool. Edge returned. You started to think, wow, it should be McIntyre. But maybe Edge. I'd be cool with that. Corbin came in at 22. Matt Riddle at 23. They had to make sure that Brock was out by the time Riddle got in there. Brock would have destroyed Riddle. So that goes to show you there was some type of altercation before because Riddle didn't come out until afterwards. Matt Riddle, 23. Gallows, 24. Randy Orton, 25. It was really cool to see Rated RKO back in there. Edge and Randy Orton, they had a cool chemistry. In fact, one of them was going to eliminate the other in just a little bit. I'll get to that. But Orton was 25. Roman Reigns came in at 26, and all of our hearts dropped for a second, right? We all were like, uh-oh, here we go. He always comes in later in the event, and he always ends up finding a way to win. Here's good old Super Roman. He came in at 26. Owens at 27. Aleister Black, 28. Samoa Joe, 29. Seth Rollins at number 30. The final four were Randy Orton, Edge, Roman, and Rollins. That was your final four. It's a pretty stacked final four as long as Edge or McIntyre are winning this thing. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, Rollins. Oh, that's a final five then, right? Because McIntyre's in the match. Final four. Let's leave out McIntyre. So I guess that would be final five. Orton, Edge, Roman, Rollins, and McIntyre. But I think Rollins was then eliminated. So then, I'll get this right. Forgive me. It was you try reviewing this. It's tough, man. The final four ended up being, I believe, Roman, Edge, Randy, and McIntyre. There we go. I think I got it right. The eliminations went as follows. Edge eliminated Orton because at one moment it looked like Orton was going to eliminate Edge. So Edge got to him first. Then Roman eliminated Edge, and it was down to Roman and Drew, and you were like, uh-oh. Oh, no. Please. You did not just have Drew eliminate Brock just for Roman to eliminate Drew to set up some weird triple threat. And mind you guys, we still might get a triple threat at Mania. We're all thinking we're going to get a one-on-one Drew versus Brock. Watch Vince somehow insert Roman in on that, right? Yeah, who cares if it's a Raw championship? We'll find a way. And that's if he doesn't put Roman with Bray Wyatt for the SmackDown's WWE Championship. That's most likely what's going to happen. But if Wyatt has somebody else and it's like Edge, right? Think about Edge versus Wyatt. That's pretty damn badass. Don't be shocked if Roman somehow inserts himself into some title picture here. That's all I'm saying. But for this night, McIntyre eliminated Roman Reigns, and everybody's heart attack was put off. We got McIntyre taking his rightful spot because that finally, a right decision was made. McIntyre has earned that exponentially. McIntyre is the guy. He's great on the promos right now. He's damn good in the ring. He's got the presence and the look. Here's a crazy concept. Why not give him a shot? Give him a chance. Give him an opportunity. They don't want to do it. He got it last night, and that's just last night. We don't know how the booking is going to go for McIntyre. But for one night, they got it right. And it wasn't even fully right, because earlier in the night they have Charlotte Flair. So maybe they threw us a bone here. Maybe it was supposed to be Roman, and they got so much backlash for an hour and a half after Charlotte won last night that they called an audible and McIntyre got it. Who knows? But McIntyre eliminated Roman. And what a Mania now, when you think about the talent we now have, if utilized correctly for Mania. You have Keith Lee at WrestleMania if you want. Shayna Baszler, Edge, Drew McIntyre. Expect John Cena to return. This could be a Diesel WrestleMania if done correctly. I can think of a lot of great matches. None of them had Charlotte Flair in them, and that's what I'm saying. I'm going to go back to it because I'm going to keep harping on it because it's so frustrating to think about. You wasted that Rumble spot. Nobody needs to see a Charlotte Flair main event WrestleMania match. Or in a main spot at Mania. Nobody. There's a million matches I can think of that are going to be great for WrestleMania. Or should be great, would be great for WrestleMania. None of them involve Charlotte Flair. But yet Charlotte is taking the Royal Rumble victory spot. Fuck! But that men's Royal Rumble match goes into the good column. Not just because the match was hella fun. If Brock Lesnar eliminated like 28, 29 dudes and then one dude at the end eliminated, maybe I'd be singing a different tune because then that's way too many eliminations for Brock. And what does that do for anyone else in the Rumble? But I like the flow of this whole thing. I like the additions, the chemistry, everything was just gelling here, man. It brought me back to old school WWE Royal Rumbles. It just had a special feel, man, and I was into it. I was into this Rumble. Even trying to figure out who was going to take out Brock because it's all coming down to one person like we thought it was going to. I still would have liked Brock to have a Universal Championship match. He hasn't defended in months. He should not have been allowed to be in a Royal Rumble. I'm sorry, not sorry. He should have had a match. Or at least he should have been the one double dipping. Not Roman last night and having two matches. It should have been Brock. But in the end, this Rumble match absolutely goes into the good column. And when it was all said and done, that makes 4 good, 1 bad, and 1 ugly. You cross off that ugly, and the end tally is 4-3. This was a good pay-per-view. And that's awesome. You could see it was wavy. It had its ups and downs. It had its good moments. It had its bad. It had its all-arounds, man. This pay-per-view had a little bit of everything, and that's awesome. When you can drive that much emotion out of me, even the frustration with Charlotte. It's frustration. It's an emotion. And when something can draw that type of emotion out of me, out of you, then, as long as you're matching it with awesome stuff, you can't just have a bunch of stuff that frustrates us, because that's not going to work. But as long as you're offsetting it with awesome stuff, it's like WrestleMania 30. You remember when The Undertaker's undefeated streak got broken and we were pissed? But then Daniel Bryan had that epic moment at the end. And to begin that WrestleMania, we saw Steve Austin, The Rock, and Hulk Hogan in the same ring. It had awesome moments to level out the frustrating moments or the heartbreaking moments, like seeing The Undertaker lose. Those type of moments need to be offset. I feel the Rumble did a good job last night, offsetting moments and getting all of that emotion out of us. So it really did feel like a 4-3, more good than bad pay-per-view. How do you guys feel about it, man? What if you guys were scoring this? Did you like it more than you didn't? Or did you not like it more than you did? Let me know definitely, guys. And that's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It ended up just squeaking out to be a good pay-per-view. And I do feel like that's the right call. Last night when it was said and done, that's how I did feel about it. I was intrigued more than I wasn't during the 4+ hours. I think it was about 4 hours, right? I was intrigued, man. And not one point did I say, get this over with. At not one point did I say this is overwhelmingly boring. You know what I mean? There was moments, definitely. Lacey and Bayley in that 9 minutes didn't do anything for me. But yeah, man, that was the Royal Rumble 2020. And WrestleMania looks more promising now than it did going into Royal Rumble. I'm a lot more looking forward to what they have planned for WrestleMania, minus the Charlotte BS. I'm looking forward to how they're going to utilize a Keith Lee, how they're going to utilize a Shayna Baszler now. What is next for Becky? What are they going to do with John Cena when he returns? Is that a one and done for Edge? Or are we going to see something cool with Edge going forward? Maybe Edge and Roman, spear versus spear. Hey, that's a cool little exhibition match, and that's what I mean. It's not shade to people like Roman and Charlotte. We still are okay seeing them, but put them in the right spots. They don't always have to be captivating championships at the big pay-per-views. Doesn't need to happen because the big part of the crowd, the fan base, is telling you we don't want to see that. So find other ways for them to use them. That's all we're saying. And here's a crazy concept. Turn Roman heel one day. Why not? He's only got 50% of the crowd behind him anyway. You hear when it was the final two last night. Don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. Go back last night when it went to the final two, Drew and Roman. Please, turn your volume up. When Roman just eliminated Edge and it was final two, you heard the boos resounding. And that'll tell you what the fan base thinks of Roman. Of course he has his fans. Every wrestler has fans. Dana Brooke has fans. I'm sure Gilbert had fans. But the majority of the fan base doesn't want to see certain people in certain spots. It's time to make Roman heel. It just is. And that was never more evident. It is January 2020 and Roman is getting booed out of the building. Come on, bro. Charlotte Flair, booed out of the build. But these are supposed to be top spot individuals. Stop it. Stop it. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania, man. If they utilize everyone correctly, this could be freaking awesome. I'm the Amplified Man. I'm going to end it there. 4-3. This was a good pay-per-view. Royal Rumble is in the books. WrestleMania season is full throttle. And I'll see you guys in the morning for the Raw review and reaction. The Amplified Man. Much love. Kobe Bryan and his family, man, and strength, guidance, support, everything. We wish them nothing but the best. We're here for his family. Vanessa, we are sending our strength and support always, man. Much love. Amplified Man, talk to all you guys tomorrow. Coffees and ass whoopings, you know the deal. Check you later.